I'll hand it over to Umar to talk about other scenarios.
So we discussed the enrollment scenario. The next step would be the patient would go to our partner hospitals and get registered in their system. I've already changed the role to be the registration. The patient will go to the hospital and our worker will scan their ID. It will check in the system if they have already been registered, just as a fail-safe, so that we don't register them multiple times. As you can see, it says patient is not registered, which is what we expected since it's a new patient. We're going to say OK, and we're going to assign him a new registration ID. So I'm going to say, let's say, this is just an arbitrary number. And I'm saying 11111. I confirm that it's 11111 and I say register. And at this point it's registering the patient and it says the patient has been registered successfully. And the reason we go through the step is because a lot of the tests that the patient might go through will happen at our partner hospitals, so we need a way to link our patient ID to the patient ID assigned by those hospitals, so we can track the tests or any encounters our patient have with the hospital. At this point, the patient is activated, the tag is activated and the patient is registered in our system. They're free to go to a GP clinic or a hospital, and our next scenario, they will actually go to a GP clinic. I select the GP as my role, I save, and now let's assume that the patient has come to the GP clinic. The GP will say scan ID. They'll scan the patient tag. He has a list of diagnoses he can select from, and let's say he says the patient has severe pneumonia. So let's say select and submit, and I can go into the status and it's already sent. Okay, and if you go back to the web, on the website, since it's a GP visit, we click on the GP, and at the top you can see the severe pneumonia diagnosis that was posted for that patient. The diagnosis. What I skipped over last time is if you go to the registration screen, you can see the registration ID for that patient, the 11111, for the patient ID 1300643, and the patient details the number that did the registration. And so at this point, the GP has entered the diagnosis, the data has been saved on the server, and an SMS will have been sent to another designated phone number, which will be our mobile team phone number. The mobile team will go to the GP clinic, and at that point they will decide if the patient needs to have any tests done. So I'm going to change the role to be the mobile team phlebotomist. The phlebotomist at this point has decided that they will need to take blood, which they can do right on the spot. They're going to scan the patient ID. At this point, it's going to the server and is getting the registration ID, which is the patient MR number of our partner hospitals, so that they can link our patient ID to that hospital ID. The registration ID is 1111, which we had entered earlier. They're going to take this ID and write it on a test tube or an X-ray plate so we can link it. They say OK, and this is where they enter the barcode ID of the test tube or the X-ray plate. Eventually, this will be through taking a picture of the barcode and automatically filling in the ID. But for now, I'm going to manually enter the ID. Let's say the barcode was 22222, and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And let's say it was a blood test, since that's the only test they can do on the spot without having to take the patient to the hospital. And say submit, and I go to the status. As you can see, a glimpse, it was queuing up the data to be sent, and it had sent it. So we're going to switch to the website again, and we're going to click on the phlebotomist link at this point, and at the top you can see I sent a blood test whose barcode reference ID was 222222, and it took about a second to get over here. And you see the patient ID, the tag ID, and the same stuff that we've been seeing. Now moving on, we're going to have a lot of these phones in a housing at the entrances of the hospitals. They're always going to be scanning, as you can see on the screen. Is asking to scan a tag to read. They're always going to be in this mode and will require no interaction other than a scan from the person, the patient who's entering the hospital. The patient is going to come at the entrance, and he's going to, or she's going to scan the tag, and you can see the ID was scanned, and again it's saying scan a tag to read. So it basically has a delay which is configurable. Our delay at the moment is 2 seconds. So after a good scan, it waits 2 seconds. It waits 2 seconds and then and looks for a new tag to read, and is posting this data back on the server. I'll scan again. It's scanned, and in 2 seconds it's waiting to scan a new tag. So apart from the scanning, there's no interaction required on anybody's part. We're going to show you the website now. We're going to click on the hospital link, and you can see at the top that the events have been posted. So basically you saw the entrance scan being posted on the server. The scan serves a lot of purposes. It tracks the patient's visit to the hospital, and since it logs the patient ID, from that point we can actually see if anything has happened with the patient while he's at the hospital within a certain amount of time, so we can schedule stuff. So when the hospital scan happens, we can start looking that within 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 20 minutes, has a hospital SMO seen this patient and entered information, an event regarding that patient. And if he hasn't been treated or seen, then we can send an email to an administrator or something. So that scan helps us track patient's visit at the hospital. So that's our system in a nutshell. This uses the 6131 NFC RFID capable phone, the RFID tags, a server-side web application databases, and a customized Epi Handy that's customized to receive SMSs and auto-populate forms for our pneumonia study.